Hello to wherever you are. My name is Yorick.
My name is Darren.
And we are your hosts for the Kingsmen podcast, where we are two of the Kingsmen talking all about the King, King Jesus, for the benefit of the King's people. Now, what I have prepared here is kind of a rating system.
Okay.
I've got some prompts for us, and I'm going to read them out.
Okay.
And we're going to place our cups on whether we strongly agree, whether we simply just agree, whether we disagree, or whether we strongly disagree. And there might some church leadership discipline might need to come in, but we'll take it when it comes. Or if you want to sit in the middle, that's
I feel like we should make a vote now. We're not allowed to sit in the middle.
You can't sit in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, when it
You
comes
have
to
to make a
Christianity,
decision.
you've got to make a decision, right?
100%.
Okay, let me read off my first one for you.
Cool.
And this, I think, is something that both of us do in our free time, and that's video games. We in our teens, we both have a mutual love and a history with it. Here's the statement.
Okay.
Video games can be a legitimate form of ministry and outreach to younger generations.
Interesting. I'm going to go with a bit of a controversial decision here.
Okay. I'm going to go strongly agree.
Okay. Interesting.
Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Okay, I must say, a little caveat, a lot to do with the type of game.
Yes.
So the type of games I grew up playing is massively multiplayer online role-playing games where you are part of a party chat as a team. And so whatever you're doing, you're spending hours together chatting through whatever. The game, life, so on, or if it's in person. I think in those settings, there is that natural fellowship and conversation. Outreach assumes not necessarily your friends, but it could be with a friend. So if you and I play together and we play online and we have voice chat with another couple of young people, I generally think certain games lend themselves to having conversations in your team while you're going on a mission or your character runs on an adventure, and there's time that needs to be passed for you to share a conversation with a person that might lead to evangelism. So I think it's a valid path there. I'm not saying it's very effective, but I 100% think it is a legitimate form of outreach. I wouldn't go so far as calling it a legitimate form of ministry. Like that's like what you do full time. I think there's a lot of distractions, but maybe that's where your disagreement comes in.
Yes, 100%. So that's a good segue. I went with a bit of a controversial for us because, I mean, actually we do spend quite a bit of time playing video games, but I find more often than not they are a distraction than they are a useful tool for ministry. And I'm not saying that it can't be. I just think in practice, being pragmatic, it tends to be a distraction more than anything else. And even if we have conversations or you start talking about worldviews or whatever, I think that most games lend themselves to be focused on specific objectives in the game. And so any distraction outside of that, even though we can have a conversation while we're getting to the next objective or whatever, it seems like there's just too much distractions around. You can very easily avoid thinking about my worldview. And I think that's where in ministry, you really need, especially if you're trying to reach out to someone that hasn't really thought through, hasn't made up their mind about Jesus. It's just too easy to say, well, I don't need to think about it now. I've got other things to keep my mind occupied on. So I just think in practically, it's not the right environment to have deep, meaningful conversations where you're forcing the person to really make a valid thought and understanding and decision about the King. So that's why I've gone with the disagree side.
I'm going to say you've swayed me. I'm not going to disagree, but I'm going to move it just to slightly agree, simply because of one. Well, it can't be like a full-time, like a legitimate form of ministry in the sense of this is an area you specifically dedicate to. I enjoy a very niche genre of games, but I agree with you. The majority of games demands your constant concentration. Where if you think of having a conversation about the world and life and what's beyond life and great meanings and purpose, and you get distracted by that, you die in the game.
Yeah.
So it almost like it makes it hard to yeah. So 100% yeah, I agree with you. So I'm gonna move mine slightly to just simply agreeing.
Cool.
All right. Here's another one. Another love of ours. It's what we're having right now as coffee.
Ooh.
I don't know if people can see into our cups, but maybe they can simply just guess. Coffee is better black. Adding cream and sugar is basically turning it into a dessert.
Is that cream and sugar? Cream / and or sugar?
/ and or.
So
It is just and here, but
okay.
I'm gonna say and or.
And or. Okay. Does that classify as milk as well?
Yeah, are we getting specifics now? Cream, foam,
yeah. So
plain milk?
yeah, I'm gonna go with agree.
I think I'm gonna match you on that.
Agree.
I'm also gonna agree.
Okay. I went agree because I can drink a black coffee or I can drink a straight shot and really appreciate the taste of coffee. I like coffee for the taste. And as soon as you put sugar or cream or anything really strong to mask that taste, well, you're not drinking coffee anymore. Might as well drink tea. So that's why I'll go agree.
You're having a milk drink.
Yes, but I also like a cappuccino. Yeah, it's the nice blend of like an everyday drink of. Yeah. It's nice and the milkiness of it does bring out a bit of a creaminess to it, but it's still coffee. It still tastes like coffee.
Yeah.
It's not like you're throwing sugar in it. If you throw sugar in a milkshake,
then I have a problem with it. And it's a hot milkshake.
Yeah.
If you, I think coffee is better, in the sense, black, in the sense of hey, if I want specifically coffee that's been brewed, and I want to figure out the taste profiles and the flavors and come through, I'm gonna get most of that out of the black coffee.
Yeah.
I'm gonna taint it if I add other things with it. So for that sake, I think yes, coffee is better black if you want the full flavor, right?
But if you just writing about your day and you between meetings, what typical coffee would you order then to drink?
Cappuccino.
Okay.
Actually, no, I would go for a cortado.
Okay. Interesting.
Less volume, but I want that strong coffee kick to it. If I want to sit and enjoy my coffee, I'd rather go black so I can enjoy the flavors. But it doesn't mean I don't like milk or cream in my coffee. Yeah, I can do that. I can't do the sugar. I can't.
100%. Cool.
It's interesting that. Actually, it's not interesting. I put them up. So something we also both enjoy very much. Sunday afternoon naps is a sacred spiritual discipline that should be practiced weekly. Agree. That's why I need coffee. It's tied to each other.
Yeah.
I think it's very biblical. On the seventh day I'm going to rest.
100%.
Right?
Yep. Definitely. I mean, if F1 was in the scenes when the Bible is written, it would say, on the seventh day you rest and watch F1.
Yeah, there you
go. Yeah, my wife is a strong advocate of Sunday afternoon, 5 minutes into the F1 race, being fast asleep on the couch.
Yeah, so she's also taking her nap very religiously.
Very religiously.
Yeah. She's redeeming her time.
Yeah.
We nap beforehand.
100%. The only problem is if it's a wet race or a very exciting race, then there's no nap.
It destroys the nap. Yeah.
But it's then
does it just infringe on the sacredness, or that's just part and parcel of that sacred time?
I think it is just part and parcel.
Because my body's resting. I mean, in F1, actually, I shouldn't say that. My heart rate goes higher than what any black coffee can give me. You know.
But an interesting point, like I've realized when I started napping more regularly during the week, I find that I sleep worse in the evenings, and it kind of throws out my rhythm in a way. So there was a stage where, a normal week, where I was napping during the day because you kind of go through a heavy period and then you're like, well, I can't get through the day, so you nap midway. then you get stuck in that routine of not being able to make it through a full day and needing the nap. So it's almost like coffee. It becomes a crutch.
Yeah.
But I think on a Sunday, that's allowed because it's not a routine.
It is
for the week.
I agree. I think one of the big objections to nap, or not an objection, people not napping on a Sunday is FOMO. Hey, if I sleep my entire afternoon on a Sunday, that means saying no to anything else that I could be doing. But I personally, I don't know if it's just a certain stage you come to in or age you come to.
Yeah, I think that plays a big role.
If that just becomes habit.
Yeah. But I think there is a bit of a discipline, religious angle that you can look at it from, in that if you have FOMO on a Sunday, that's kind of the point of the Lord's Day rest, is to say, you know what, don't get so distracted in the world. Things. Yeah. Yes, it's the one day in the week where we're called to kind of refocus and say, you know what, am I focusing too much on worldly things, on my day-to-day, the grind, the material things?
Yeah.
And so if you don't want to nap because you've got FOMO and you want to do 100,000 other things, that is a problem, I'd say. But then also, pragmatic person speaking again, sometimes Sunday's the only day we get to do our grocery shopping. And it may not be because you use the Saturday for unproductive things. You may have like a church event on a Saturday, and then you don't have
to do it on Saturday. Yeah.
Exactly, right. Yeah. So there is an element of pragmatism there. I mean, Jesus even mentions, like, if your donkey's in a ditch on the Sabbath,
you're not going to leave it there.
You're not going to leave it there. So if I don't have food in the house, we're not going to be like, oh, we can't go shopping now.
You can't be pharisaical about it, right?
Exactly. So there is a bit of pragmatism that kicks in there. But I think it's the heart behind it, the attitude behind it. It's if every Sunday you aren't resting and you're out doing things week in, week out, then that may be a problem.
Yeah. I know it looks a bit different in just being in ministry and what work is. Sunday is very much a work day. But I think 1 out of 7 days take rest.
Yes.
Obviously, life is more complicated than that, but I think a big part of wanting to do work on a Sunday or on your rest day, you got to think, is it because, I mean, I've got this deadline, I've got to do it on the Sunday now, is it because I have not been a good steward of my work time throughout the week that I now feel pressure to have to do it on Sunday? If I steward my time well during my week, that means I will be able to have a free day on the Sunday.
Yeah.
I know in real life it doesn't always work out that way, but I think it's something worthwhile thinking about.
That's a very good point. We actually did an exercise last year in our company where we tried out a 4-day work week, just with a small department and a small team, and we wanted to see if productivity dips, stays the same, or increases. And we found that we actually had a slight increase in productivity, like the amount of work getting done over a 6-month period, which I found was very interesting. Because the guys felt like, well, the 4 days that they had work
is full on. But
then also some of the other feedback we received was the guys would take the Friday to just rest and sleep and be broken because they worked really hard in those first 4 days. Some people preferred that. Some people were like, actually, no, I want to go back to a 5-day. They couldn't handle the pressure of having to get everything done in the 4 days.
Yeah.
So we actually found that it's a preference thing. Because some people struggled and others actually really, really enjoyed it.
And it might be that Friday of feeling like crashed and broken, that you need to rest, is what Sundays are, right?
Yes.
So I'll finish my 6 days of work, and then I crash and rest because I've worked well.
Yes.
I'm satisfied with the work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to rest so I can repeat that, right?
Yeah. That's actually, it's really...
So you're just shortening that cycle.
Yeah. Because, I mean, the modern work week is a 5-day work week nowadays. a 6-day work week. So, yeah, interesting.
Okay. Christian men should know how to grill. It's practically biblical.
Grill being braai.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Come on. We've got to be real. We're South Africa. Is there like an extremely agree? Extremely strongly agree, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're from Namibia, so you would know.
It's a rite of passage, you know. It's very patriarchal, if I can be very controversial. Every Namibian boy gets an Abram Isaac experience, because that's actually the consequences if you don't know how to grill.
Right? Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. So you got to learn it because your life depends on it. And then your dad's like, "That's okay. I know you'll listen to me. You'll heed your teachings of your parents. So I'm going to give you a substitute, and we can get a chop instead. You don't have to be braai."
I honestly think that a braai is the modern equivalent of a pleasing aroma to the Lord.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It is basically the New Testament sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that's unbiblical, but yeah.
Even just from a Christian fellowship perspective.
Yes.
There are few things that, if I close my eyes and I think in those moments that evokes fellowship, or the idea of fellowship, or thinking about people spending time together and having conversations and having a good time, as thinking about a braai.
Yes.
As you know, South Africans, you say the word braai, and that all comes to mind.
Yep.
That intentional time together relationally. So not only that, hey, it's good to have meat, but as any Christian man, that's a prime opportunity for you to, one, disciple others around you, have the fellowship and that relationship. Because other South Africans know what a braai is like, it's a low barrier of entry to invite someone to a braai. So if you manly know how to braai, you have a tool to invite someone else and say, hey, come and have a braai with me, a neighbor. And then, hey, boom, start a relationship with that person.
100%. And those are the situations where you can ask deep questions.
Exactly.
And you can't get away. You can't get away from the braai. And it's not so mentally demanding like gaming where you can be distracted.
Yeah.
So,
and if you're not yet a braaiing guy, just remember you can become all things, all people for the sake of the gospel. And all people in our context are braaiers, so be a braaiing guy.
100%. I mean, it's bringing the burnt offering with wine and bread. You know, what's a braai without garlic bread or tuberoki? So
yeah,
you know, it's the
all these elements that you can, symbols that you can just
exactly
use,
you're
right?
bringing the old covenant and new covenant, and it's a perfect time for
sacrificial atonement.
Yes,
lamb,
the lamb that was slain.
There we go.
100%.
Just none of this charcoal nonsense. It's got to be proper. You got to do it right. It's good stewardship of our natural created resources that we're given.
Yeah, I do a charcoal and braai every now and again. I feel like that was a dig at me. But it's just convenient. When it's just me and the wife, then don't have to light a whole fire.
But also, if you focus is fellowship, right? Yes. You want to get this.
Yes, the fire is the gees that brings the gees.
So that's
atmosphere. So 100%. I agree with you.
And where two or more gather, there's the gees.
Yeah. So. Exactly.
It's biblical.
Biblical.
Right. Coffee is biblical. Sunday afternoon naps are biblical.
Yeah.
Video games are questionable. Pizza.
Ooh.
Another thing that you and I really, really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
It's an acceptable breakfast food if it's left over from the night before. I'm just gonna plain agree.
I'm gonna be a bit controversial again.
I do enjoy cold pizza.
I also do enjoy cold pizza,
but I'm not going to strongly agree because most of my mornings I don't want heavy food.
Yeah.
I'm not a big breakfast person in general, so I don't really do breakfast. It's like a Wednesday on a lazy day.
Yeah, that's why I went with disagree, because pizza cold I really love. My wife hates it. She has to heat it up, and
Yeah,
you
same
just
here.
lose the consistency. It becomes a soggy mess.
Yeah.
And I just can't do it. Cold
Conveniency.
pizza.
Again, boom.
Yep. Cold pizza comes from the landing days, you know. You have a pizza sitting by your PC while you're gaming until 4 in the morning.
Cold pizza.
That doesn't count as breakfast though.
Nos-
That counts still
nostalgia.
as the night
Midnight
before.
snack.
Midnight
Yeah,
snack.
Yeah. But you're just
Um,
finishing off.
But breakfast for me is the only big breakfast I'll eat is a bacon, eggs, toast,
Classic.
brunch, classic. Pizza for me is not a breakfast meal. I will rather leave it cold and in the fridge until lunchtime.
Until lunchtime. Okay.
Yes.
Fair.
And I'll just spend the whole morning looking forward to my lunch.
Yeah. I think.
Did I convince you again?
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to the premise that it's an acceptable breakfast food, I do think it's an acceptable breakfast.
Yeah, I wouldn't frown at anyone
not-
that did it.
it's not-
Yeah.
It's not a breakfast, but it can pass as a breakfast food on those given days, right?
Yeah.
It also depends on what's on the pizza. Certain pizzas, I think, lend itself. Like, I can't think of a seafood pizza in the morning. That's like seafood doesn't. I can't just do seafood in the morning. Not even. I can't conceive of it. You can't at all.
No, I
You-
can't. I'm
you'll
allergic.
die.
So any shellfish, and that would be my last pizza.
Yeah. You mentioned bacon. I do like eggs. I think if I had to choose a breakfast food, it'll be eggs. I mean, growing up in Namibia, you go down when the sun goes down, and you rise with the chickens, and nothing comes closer than eggs. And you know, backstory life.
Yeah.
Home grounds.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Last one.
Last one. Ooh, interesting.
This is an interesting one.
Okay.
And that's also mine. Thanks.
Oh, whoops. Yes, you agree.
There you go. Thanks. Don't want to pass the shellfish genes on. Christian bookstores should have a dedicated aisle for theology-themed board games.
Ooh.
I am strongly agree.
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen that before, but it's definitely something that should exist.
Yes. I think coming back to like the Braai and the fellowship, people love. Actually, we're seeing it in youth ministry. There's a resurgence of board games.
Yes.
People are loving board games and spending time together in good board games. But
Yeah.
you don't see theology-themed board games around.
No, the only ones are any youth minister that has invented one
Yeah,
for a youth game on
and
a
it
Friday night.
overcomplicated the rules and like
Yes, 100%.
becomes very competitive. Yeah, that's good. That's
Yeah,
good.
but I agree with you. That's an untapped market, especially now. Like you said, there's been a resurgence. I mean, I think it's become what is that word when fashion comes back in fashion? It's like retro.
Yeah.
You know, kids
It is.
nowadays see that. Oh, it's retro. You know.
Yeah. Very nostalgic.
Yes.
I mean, growing up, we played a lot. My family loves board games, and I would love to see I don't know, say intense, but you know, a very engaging, bigger group board game that everyone's like, hey, on the Saturday nights
Yes.
with called pizza, just dive into and spend this time together. And in the game, you're reminded of theological truth.
Yeah. Like a Cluedo-esque type game.
A Cluedo-esque type game.
Yes.
It was Judas in the garden with 3 pieces of silver.
That's what I was trying to get at. You got there quicker than I could come up with it. I was like, okay. Yeah. You have biblical characters.
Yeah.
You have a couple murder weapons.
Yeah, the Pharisees with the law in the synagogue.
Yeah. It's not a bad game.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. What about Monopoly? Can we Christianize Monopoly?
Purchasing the promised land.
Yeah, we just have basically a map of
Tax collectors. If you know me, you're going to pay me tax, right?
Yeah.
There you go. That's what taxes are.
Zacharias.
Yeah, you roll Zacharias.
Yeah.
You got
then
the Monopoly guy, you get like,
Yeah.
boom, Zacharias.
Yeah. And then you got the expensive properties will be like Jerusalem and
Yeah.
Mount Sinai.
There you go. Very expensive.
The cheap land would be Canaan. Huh?
Yeah. Moab.
Yeah.
Land of the Philistines. Well, that's prison.
Yes.
No, that's Babylon. You can exile.
Babylon, yes, exile.
Yeah.
Or Egypt.
Or Egypt.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
That's actually a really good idea.
I know there is a very, very good Christian board game called Deliverance. That a guy really put a lot of effort in. It's in depth. There's proper little miniatures that you use. You play against the board as a team, and there's like part of your like, I don't say powers, but things you use are prayer cards. Okay. Like you've done a prayer, and there are angels involved and forces of darkness. So for those who like that kind of like realm of games where you play against the board game, it's in depth. It's great. I would highly recommend.
That's very interesting.
It's you got to import it. It's in the States, so it's pricey. But yeah, I would like to see more in Christian bookstores.
Yeah. It feels like it's
even
really
existing ones flavored. Like I mean, our teams love playing Uno. How do you play Uno? How do you theologize Uno?
Instead of numbers, you have maybe biblical characters.
Are you going to match the biblical characters?
Yes.
Tribes. 11 Levites, 12 Judahites.
Yeah, and then the colors are.
I think colors could be colors.
Yeah, could be colors.
What are penalties? Pick up 4 more cards. Plus 4.
4 more prayers.
4 more prayers. I think it's like, yes, give it to me. Like,
might get like rosary-esque, you know.
Curses.
Yeah.
Covenantal curses.
Interesting.
You get 4 more curses.
Yeah.
I will reverse it back to you.
Yeah.
Repentance.
Interesting. I do think though that is a market for that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
You could have a lot of fun.
I also think we should stop the recording because we're giving out all the great ideas. Like we could make use of. We could step into the market here, right?
100%. Yeah.
Like, just look at us. You know, that's fantastic.
Okay, so next week we're opening up our own Christian gaming store.
Christian gaming store, yeah. Christian board games.
Christian board games. Interesting.
Our minds can just go on.
Yeah.
Like, I'm thinking, what's the next board game? Battleships. You think?
That was a hard one. Catan. Settlers of Catan.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, that also as well. You can. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of the game Ticket to Ride?
I've heard of it.
Where you plot courses, and it's just Paul's missionary journeys.
Hey,
you gotta get to Ephesus,
Corinth,
Philippi.
Yeah.
We're adding Spain, but you gotta obstacles.
A couple shipwrecks.
Yeah. And that could be battleships. Beat the other Jonah.
Paul's battleships.
Paul's shipwrecks. Paul's battleships.
Oh, interesting.
What are some other classics? Braaiing is a great idea.
Yeah.
Christian board games.
Yes.
Coffee. Afternoon naps, unless there's Formula One.
Yeah. And then pizza for lunch.
Pizza for lunch. I'll agree to that.
The next day.
Yeah. Well,
100%.
thank you.
Thanks, Eric.
If you guys want to get to know more, keep watching. There's more coming up. Where we chat all about the king, the kingdom, as the king's men for the benefit of the king's people. Interviewing some more people in the church here in South Africa. And just hearing where the Lord's at work, how the kingdom growth is happening in different areas and different topics. And I am very excited for it. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's we so often get easily drawn to content in the US and elsewhere in the world, and forget there's some really good, solid teachers and local pastors.
Yeah. Right here.
Right where we're at, that we'd love to hear more about and learn more from. So, really keen for the future of this podcast.
Yeah, and my desire is, and both of us really, is that through this, that there might be those who are listening in might be edified and equipped through what we share, what we learn from men and women who are faithfully serving and faithfully walking as just Christian, mature believers all around, whether that's in the secular field, whether that's missions, whether that's teaching capacity or ministry, regardless. We have the people, and we would love to hear from them and dive in where the Lord's at work.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
All right.
Till next time.
Cheers.